let me ask you, sir, what do you make of the dust-up that the Trump administration is getting on this? First off, that it wasn't properly vetted and just sort of dumped on everybody with no preparation. What do you say?
Well, I don't buy the argument that it would represent an unnecessary risk to have allowed more time for some vetting, at least internally within the executive branch, with Homeland Security, State Department, and the other relevant departments and so forth. So I think that's maybe stretching it a bit to say that that would have represented an unnecessary risk. And I think if that had been done, they might have avoided some of the glitches, like, for example, the suggestion that people who had green cards wouldn't be allowed back in the United States, which is a huge mistake and affects literally probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in this country. So, yeah, I think a little more focus on process would have been good. But what I think, if the administration were truthful about it, they would acknowledge that the reason this came out so fast was that they wanted to kick all these resolutions out the door during their first week in office. It was a rush to show how much got done in week number 1.
Yeah, this is the one item, though, that ignited the controversy. It's easy to play Monday morning quarterback. But I do want to
get a big distraction.
All right, I understand. Now, these 7 countries, if it was an anti-Muslim sort of strategy here, then obviously they would have gone for 40 countries plus that are majority Muslim, and they did not. Yet that's the rap this is getting. What do you think of that?
No, I don't take it to be an anti-Muslim measure. What I think it is a focus on the 7 countries which have the most activity by al-Qaeda and the Islamic State and the most likelihood of turmoil and violence. These are the countries which are real sources of violent extremist activity. It's a pity, in a way, that the ban applies to Iraq, because, after all, we have many friends in Iraq who we like to give special immigrant visa for having cooperated with us previously. And I hope that this measure doesn't make it harder for us to work in Iraq in the future.
All right, Ambassador, I wasn't clear at the outset. I guess what I was trying to say is that you were backing Hillary Clinton for this job, and now you see Donald Trump about a little more than a week into it. How is he doing when it comes to these kind of issues?
Yeah, I backed Hillary Clinton during the campaign. I am a Republican. But I also believe firmly that we have only one president at a time, and we've got to give his administration every support we can so that he can succeed on behalf of the administration and on behalf of all Americans. So
when you hear Marco Rubio, sir, and Lindsey Graham, Senator Portman, and a host of others, John McCain, no surprise there, come out and rail against this, or at least express caution about this, does that make you wonder about the rest of this young administration's agenda, or that it's just off to a stumbling start? That happens with administrations. It would not be the first, probably won't be the last.
Right, and I've watched some of these people on TV. I don't think Rob Portman was railing. It's not in his nature. He was quite measured in the way he spoke. But I mean, I think this is the takeoff, and it's the ascent, and it's going to be a bumpy ascent until we get to some sort of effective cruising altitude. I mean, the question is, how long is it going to take them? They must realize that this distracts from advancing other parts of their agenda, and so they have as much of an interest as anybody in the frictionless promulgation of these different kinds of orders. So they're just going to have to give that a little bit more thought.
Well, I've got you. You've probably heard that Steve Bannon is going to be placed on this National Security Council, and out would go the Director of National Intelligence, the Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff. How do you feel about that? Well,
I've read the order a couple of times, and the first part of the order says that both the Director of National Intelligence and the Chairman of the JCS will be on the National Security Council. Later on, they talk about the Principals Committee, which is the subsidiary body which brings issues to the National Security Council, and it says that they will be there as needed when the issues are relevant to their responsibilities. Here's my forecast for you. They will attend every National Security Council and Principals meeting, because there's always an element involving the military and or intelligence, and it's inconceivable to me that you can have a National Security Council that would operate without them. As for Steve Bannon, I bet you he's the one who's probably not going to attend all the meetings because not all of them are going to be that interesting to him.
Are there X number, a rigid set number of seats, though, Ambassador? I mean, that's
no,
what
the law establishes that it's the Secretary, the President, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, and one other whom I forget now, will be the statutory members of the Council. Just about everybody else is pretty much by invitation. But the law also establishes both the DNI and the chairman of the JCS, respectively, as the principal intelligence advisor and the principal military advisor to the President of the United States. I would think the President would want to have them on hand at all times.
Gotcha. Ambassador, thank you very much. Good catching up with you.
Thank you.